let's start with the two that are not answered yet. So Astor, there is a question from Matthias asking, despite the current discrepancy in understanding open source, do you think that the European Commission is in a meaningful position to claim leadership in creating the right guidelines that can then be copied and pasted on a global scale, similar to GDPR? So I think that's a question both for Astor and Barry, I would say.
Yeah, if I jump in and take, because I think Barry will have a lot of interesting things to say about this, but very specifically from the openness angle, I'm quite hopeful. I know my presentation is a bit of doom and gloom, but I hope to kind of shake things up and say, like, let's get engaged. But there is a lot of interesting activity in the Commission. And there's a lot of interesting information gathering right now. I mentioned the study that we're engaged with, but there are many others in terms of just feeding into, on the one hand, how the Commission engages with open source specifically internally, but also to really understand the strategic role of it. So there is a lot of internal capacity building, and the Commission is putting a lot of effort into this. So I'm quite hopeful. I just really want to make sure that in these efforts, it does reflect kind of the reality of what the open source ecosystem looks like. And for that, we also require a lot of stakeholders that are usually not represented in the policy discussions to kind of step up and be part of this. But when it comes to, specifically on AI, I think Barry is in a better place to answer that than me.
Yeah, I suppose just a few comments to add. Obviously, through all of the funded programs from the Commission, there is an encouragement to ensure that the intellectual property generated is actually shared with the community. Now, of course, that one has to make a decision whether it's best to do that in an open source manner or otherwise. But I think there's a very strong incentive and a very strong push from the Commission to open source things. We have, of course, the European Open Science Cloud that is a good piece of infrastructure and a good example of what's the Commission is trying to do. When I speak to companies, there's sometimes a reluctance to open source certain aspects. So, for example, particularly data sets, there's a lot of work that goes into data sets, and that these can be very, very regarded as highly proprietary. So obviously that's a challenge. It's a reality, of course, but I think I'm not sure if there's any particular legislation that's been introduced. Certainly, there's always a trade-off. Publicly funded, the requirement in publicly funded research and activity is that it maximizes return for the system as a whole. And personally speaking, from our lab, we tend to open source as much as we possibly can, because as scientists, we just see that as part of the publication process. And more conferences in Europe, and indeed it's probably true right across the world, are requiring scientists to publish their data sets, publish their code, so that can be, to support reproducibility. So I'm not sure if that really addresses the question. I don't think there'll be anything like the GDPR. I'm not sure where the GDPR comes into this, but
I think that it was taken more as an example of a domain where Europe
leads.
So leadership in creating regulations that apply everywhere.
Yeah, like I think, I'm not an expert in open source, so I defer to the room and to the participants to comment on that. But I think Europe certainly needs more infrastructure to support open source activities, and I think that's one of the reasons why Eclipse coming to Europe, if I may say it like that, is such an important development, because it helps create that culture of open source that needs help. Any support that can be given to that community, that way of working is a good thing.
Yep. Thanks. So yeah, another question. I think that you answered online, but that's cool if you could say it.
Sure.
That's how to participate to AI for you, and can you participate to AI for you if you are not from?
So yes is the answer. So basically, you can go to the AI for You website and you can sign up. At the moment, there's most of the content is simply content. There's a repository of different kinds, and there's discussion groups. Very soon there'll be more interactive tools, but it's very easy to become a member of the community. You just simply sign up, and you'll receive the newsletters and the reach out and all of that kind of thing, the information. Some people were asking about the open calls for the challenges. That will all be made available through the community. So it's just simply a matter of going to the portal and just signing up username and password, and off you go. I don't think the platform in any way restricts people based on geography. So if you're outside of the EU, I think you could still join. I think there was a comment earlier made about sort of isolationism. I think Europe certainly doesn't want to be in any way isolationist. So this is an open platform.
Yep. Okay, so thanks for the answer. Next question, I would like to ask again the question to Professor Chen. What is the easiest way for European developers to participate to the MindSpore open source community?
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, Jerry is here and he is the manager of European communities. First, we have a GitHub, right? So you can contribute your code and model on the GitHub. And second, as I mentioned in the slides, we have 3 ways to collaborate with European communities. First, we have a lot of activities like Jerry will mention, like open source competitions, hackathons. Like we will open everything to the Europeans, make sure everybody have the chance to get feeling what is MindSpore. Like Milo gave a very good comment, say I know it's good, but where I can get it, right? So we will have the cloud services, and then the people can go there and try our MindSpore power together with us. And other than that, we will build up communities. We already have the community, like external committees, the governor, all these things, offer all the code and the models to the Europe. And also we have starting to target all the different universities, trying to set up some small projects. Say whether you want to use MindSpore to develop something to build to benefit the whole societies. It's not just for your universities, build some models, use MindSpore, and then put back to the open source platform, and everybody can benefit. We are working closely with the university communities, and also we are trying to organize online competitions, hackathons, and try to broadcast, and everybody can know where to access MindSpore, to use MindSpore.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
So you don't have to go on Gitty to contribute to MindSpore. You can also do GitHub.
We will, of course we will. Come on.
Cool.
I mean, Jerry, go ahead.
Gail know me. Yeah, I want to add my thoughts that I'm based in UK. Yeah, cover the business of MindSpore in the whole Europe. And based in my opinion, based on the principle of mutual benefit or mutual respect, MindSpore is open to any form of collaboration. And anybody show interest in MindSpore can contact me via email, and I will discuss with any future collaboration. Yeah.
Okay. One important thing is we will definitely work together with Eclipse, right?
Yes.
The foundation. Thanks to give us the opportunities. This is really appreciation. So we are new, but still you give us the opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that brings me to the next question. I would like to ask the question to Adam. So how can anybody contribute to Deep Learning for J?
Yeah, I mean, so DL4J has, I mean, obviously we've been around a long time. We've received contributions from numerous open source companies, or numerous companies using DL4J. Generally, you know, we have a large existing model zoo with examples and everything. You know, we also promote use cases on our blog as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we're out there on GitHub. We're already at Eclipse. So it's just github.com/eclipse/deep-learning4j. You know, we have a community, you know, we have a community forum. You know, you can also just email us if you have any particular questions.
Okay, cool. And also one thing I would like to quote is that since the beginning, Eric Gamma, one of the creator of the Eclipse ID, used to say that a bug report is like a love letter. So I think that contributing starts with any kind of signal. Like you can ask a question, you can ask for more information, you can file a bug, even if you have there's no stupid bug report or no stupid questions. That everything is interesting from the point of view of the project leaders. Maybe one to come back to the more policy aspects. Astor, can you? And I think that we'll take one or two more questions, but then it will be over. So Christian Patterson was asking what was the concrete result of the workshop organized by the EU Commission, by the European Commission in November. And I think that the study you mentioned may be part of the answer, or is there another study also?
It's a very good question, because essentially there was, and this is COVID-19 related, of course. Things have slowed down and a lot of planning internally in the Commission. So I take the liberty here to speak for the Commission a little bit, which I can't really do their internal things. But as I understand it from the outside, was that there was a plan of preparing, which was presented at the workshop, to prepare a workshop report summarizing the policy recommendation being made, feeding them into the political process, where it's kind of like highlighting on a political level the efforts being done by the Commission. So that means to the Commissioner. And at the same time, in the end of April, there was supposed to be a presentation of the European Commission's own open source software strategy at the Digital Assembly in Croatia. So this event did not take place. So things have been reshuffled quite a lot internally in terms of timing and when to present things. But as I know, it's very much in the pipeline, this open source software strategy. I can't give you an exact date, but I think we're talking maybe days or weeks around when this will be published, and it will be like less formal as at an event, but there's a lot of action happening also in terms of other studies taking place around the open source strategy, which refers only to, let's say, the Commission's internal dealings with open source and also building links to communities, etc., and how to engage with the community on more of a technical level. But the big lesson from all of this, I would say, is that the Commission is all ears to hear from open source stakeholders and wants to learn how things actually work out there.
Good, thanks. One last question maybe, or one last answer?
That sounds good.
Okay, so thank you very much for your participation. I think that we had on average more than 100 attendees. So that's the usual ratios of free events. Like you usually see half of the registrations, half of the people who registered, but that's very good. We will publish the videos, and yes, thanks, Adrian. Keep posted about the the program for the next edition. I think that September 10 will be coming soon for all of us, hopefully. And so, yeah, if you want to participate to the edition on September 10, then please reach out to me.